Well, it's so good to be with those of you today. We're eager to share information about our grants opportunities for the coming year with you. Next slide. And so indeed, welcome. We're very, very glad over your interest. Today, we just want to give you a brief overview of the Johns Hopkins Older Americans Independence Center theme, structure, resources, accomplishments, but very importantly, to give you an overview of our letter of intent opportunity for two types of awards, pilot awards and early career development awards, and then finally leave plenty of time for Q&A. I'm Karen Bandine Roach, and I'm one of the co-directors of the Older Americans Independence Center. Next. And so our Johns Hopkins, I'll just call it OAIC from now on, is one of about 16 across the country who collectively are aiming to produce knowledge that allows older adults to maintain or restore their independence, really crucial to healthy longevity. Our collective mission is to seed research across our institutions, also to support early career faculty in entering the field to address this important goal that can span research substantive problems, the development of new technology, what have you. And Pepper Center, sometimes we're called, honors the late Senator Claude Pepper, who really championed the creation of these centers of excellence. Every OAIC has a unique theme. Next slide. And so our theme is frailty of older adults. And so you can think of that as an age-related condition in which older adults lose their capacity to cope with stressors, become vulnerable to all sorts of adverse outcomes, and so really a threat to maintaining healthy longevity. You can see in front of you some of the key components of physical frailty that you might imagine of a frail older adult. Next slide. This slide shows a little bit more detail of our conceptual framework that we bring to frailty, not to go through it in any detail, but if you look at the center, it really, I think, illustrates our unique contribution to the field and our conceptual view of frailty, in which we don't view frailty simply as aging or as a bucket of things going wrong. We have in mind a rather specific underlying etiology involving the unraveling of stress response physiology that manifests in a specific syndrome of weakness and loss of energy and wasting that has been a geriatric hallmark of frailty in older adults. Next slide. We perform lots of varied research, but this slide illustrates the areas in which I think we really have done the most research. We're very proud of what our funded scholars have produced. Biology, the underlying etiology of frailty, clinical translation, the implications of frailty assessment for the management of health conditions in subspecialties such as nephrology or cardiology or what have you, measurement and diagnostic issues, particularly these days, I think the early ascertainment of frailty, recognizing it soon enough that one could really hope to do something about it. And finally, population health issues, whether it be life course issues in determining frailty or social determinants or what have you. Next slide. And so finally, one bundled overview reiterating that our aim is to make fundamental discoveries related to frailty and very importantly, to move these towards interventions and prevention strategies that will lengthen healthy longevity for older adults. And one thing we're very proud of is that our center is very highly interdisciplinary, and we really aim to provide expertise, resources, methods, training, to investigators who want to enter the field. To the right, you can see that we're organized in terms of 7 cores. If you begin at the top of the slide, biostatistics, and look around to the right, we have 4 resource cores that we're going to describe in detail in a moment. These really are meant to support you as you undertake research, whether it be as a pilot or as an early career faculty. Then to the left, of course, we have a leadership core, and then we organize our grants under research education. That's our early career grant mechanism, and then a pilot core, which oversees the pilot grants. Next slide. And so we're going to go ahead and describe our cores. Of course, we have a leadership core. We oversee the operation, try to provide vision. For this particular session, I think that's all the detail I'm going to go into, other than to just acknowledge Peter Abadir, with whom I'm so grateful to co-lead the center as a whole, as well as Brian Buda, who is our expert program administrator. Next slide. So beginning with the resource cores, it's my pleasure to introduce Chen-Li Xu. He's professor of geriatric medicine and a biostatistician who leads our biostatistics core. Next slide.
Thank you, Karen. So these what you're looking at are the aims of the biostat core. I mean, we take on mentoring responsibilities for junior scholars by providing consultation regarding data analyses, study design, utilizing modern databases, analytical resources, etc. And we also, regarding the data infrastructure piece, we do provide support to database design, data administrative applications, study tracking, for example, quality control applications. And we also do our own scientific, lead our own sort of methods development projects, try to advance the science on frailty measurement and frailty research translation in clinical care. And we certainly collaborate with other research resource cores, including the biological core, the translation core, and also the latest technology core to advance the Pepper Center's scientific agenda. So glad to have you.
Thank you, Chen-Li. If we go to the next slide, then next up is our molecular and biological mechanisms core. And very pleased, Peter's not only the co-leader of the center as a whole, but also co-leads this particular resource core. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Dr. Van Dieneroach. So I am excited to share with you about the RC2 biological mechanisms core, the resource core number 2. But before I do that, one of the things that always excites me about our focus on the frailty is what I explain to my students, that frailty is not just one thing that you look at and you can identify, but it is actually a syndrome that was identified and described here at Hopkins. This is a fun fact that not a lot of people know, the work of Dr. Ben Dieneroach, Dr. Linda Fried, and Dr. Jeremy Walston to define the 5 criteria of frailty. And as part of the work that was done through the biological core, we developed the IL-10 knockout mouse model. And I want to just use that to explain that we are interested in the biological underpinnings of frailty from cells all the way to human clinical trials. And we have done cell assays and looking at energetics in cells, to animal research in primates, in mice, in rats, and we support studies. So if your studies are going to be looking at an aging and frailty model, we can help with that. We have access to the NIA aged animal colony. So this is a resource that we can offer, that you can get older animals, of course, through the proper channels of approvals, but you get 24-month, for example, mice that are C57 Black 6 or cross hybrid. So it's a great resource. With Dr. Dan Arking, we also look at different assays and give advices on what would be a good ideal assay to use. We cover proteomics, between us, proteomics, metabolomics, genomics, and methylation arrays. So we always try to meet after we receive the letter of intent, discuss the applications, and give guidance. This is a lot of hand-holding to make sure that when a grant or a proposal is approved, that you got all the guidance and support to make sure that we maximize your chances of success. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Peter. And so if we go next, we have our clinical translational core and unit, which really helps to implement studies in lots of practical ways. Todd Brown, an endocrinologist, leads this core. He unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but we're very privileged to have Jackie Landon, who is our amazing research program manager. So thank you, Jackie, for being here.
It's my pleasure. So basically what we do is help with human subject research support. Everything from design, taking into consideration feasibility of what your project is and if it's something that we can get done in the time frame. We have space to complete these human subject studies. We have experienced coordinators because it's just, if you are not already doing human subjects research, it's a tall task to bring anything on board this quickly. I think one of our biggest, most known assets is our aging registry, which is a rich list of older adults who are willing to participate in human subjects research. So we currently, I think we have between 400 and 500 active members. And I describe this as fishing in a stocked pond, because if you come to us and say that there are certain items that you do or don't want to be included, we can, cut out a whole bunch of extra time by focusing on the individuals that hopefully will meet the needs and the inclusion-exclusion criteria of your study. And then finally, I'll just mention our community advisory board, which is relatively new. It's within this funding cycle. I think many of you have sat in on those, the leadership, and find it incredibly insightful to hear what the community advisory board members think of the work that's going on. We have people that have been funded through the OAIC come in and give a brief talk at each meeting, and we get feedback from them on what's important to them, and I think it's just been one of our favorite things to do that we just started. So I think that wraps up what I have to say about RC3.
Thank you, Jackie. I couldn't agree more about the CAB. And so next we have our technological solutions core. And I'm very grateful that Peter once again will be able to walk us through this one.
Thank you. So I want to say that in general, there is nothing like frailty to work in, but especially now, this is one of the most exciting areas given the resolution that we are achieving with AI, generative AI, technology development. So for RC4, the focus on using technologies and devices to identify frail older adults, to assist, support frail older adults. This includes machine learning, includes a lot of the technological advances that we are seeing. Some of the examples, for example, that we have funded are using computer vision to look at frailty biomotion, or use speech and cognition as a way to assess what happens in frail older adults and do deep phenotyping of frailty. So this core is specifically directed by two engineers. One is a speech and language or sound engineer, Najim Dehak, and Vadim is from biostatistics and does a lot of the data modeling. So they two come together to help support applications that are using engineering technologies to study or to support prediction, identification, assistance in frailty.
Thank you. I think one important thing about this core is that it spans both clinic-based assessments, state of the art of gait, speech, whatever, as Peter just said, and then also wearables in free living settings. So very, very rich set of opportunities. And so, as we transition to our pilot and REC cores, I will just mention that all of the resource cores are here to materially support every pilot and every REC project. It's not just a matter of advice, but our commitment is to provide real material support. All right, and so, we do have two cores that really both oversee and, support the process and the experience of our two funding opportunities. The first is the Pilot and Exploratory Studies Core, and that's led by Neil Fedorko, a biologist who is a professor in geriatric medicine. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon. So probably the most important thing to know about the pilot is that it has funding up to $40K per year in direct costs. So you have to be within that budget. The main goal is to support people that are either new to aging or trying something different in terms of their research. So they're typically pilot or exploratory studies. They need to be within the framework of frailty in some form, either developmental studies on new ways to assess or ways to do some translation or to test specific hypotheses about frailty. Before you actually send in the application, I would stress, if you are interested in doing this, it would be great if you sent to me what you're thinking of doing. And that would be really good for both you and me, because we can make sure that your application is as strong as it can be. So that's one thing I want to stress. If you apply and you get the award, we will be in contact. We will work together. And one of the key things is, since the award is for 1 year, you need to hit the ground running, and ideally you get it completed in that first year, right? Whenever there's a roadblock or any sort of delay, it's good to raise that to us, get everybody involved in problem solving and how to get it done. Can I have the next slide? 'Cause I don't want to read through this one, but I just want to show you an example of recent people who have gotten a pilot award. And I'm not going to read through this, but you can see the various people and what their accomplishments have been since. So people have gotten promotions and grants.
Thank you, Neil. And then next, I'm very, very pleased to introduce the leader of our research education component, Dr. Gary Gerstenblith, who's professor of cardiology, and we've been privileged to partner with him since the beginning. So thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Karen. So the goal of our core is to attract, recruit, and support young investigators with a wide variety of interests. So that would be including basic, translational, clinical, population interests to maintain and restore the independence of older Americans. We provide, I think, the most important professional resource, which is time. Also important resources, and you heard about statistics, and I have personally used the registry, and it's a marvelous resource with, as Jackie said, over 400 individuals who've agreed to be contacted for research studies. We also have an individualized research education program geared to the subject area and the methods that will be used. Next, Brian. And this is an example of our awardees, and you see they're MDs, they're PhDs. They're in a wide, diverse study, biomedical engineering, neurology, basic science, et cetera. And they also have gone on to numerous grant awards and promotions in academic medicine.
Thank you so much. And so I'll quickly run through some of the details and then we can open up for questions. So our letters of intent are due on March 6th. Next slide. Once again, we have these two mechanisms. You already heard from Neil that our pilot studies are up to 40K in direct costs for a year. Typically, this is research costs. So salary support is not prohibited, but these really are more intended for research costs. The research education component really I think of as a mini K award, which has the same sorts of career development goals, up to $50,000 per year, beginning with 1 year, and that's both focused on conducting a frailty-related research projects, but also engaging in mentored career development activities. Next slide. We do have prioritized areas we're really looking for. And so, this is in the RFA, but this is quite important, So first of all, we're very much seeking to move towards interventions or clinical management strategies to either prevent frailty altogether or to manage care in people who are frail to better maximize their outcomes. Second is to evaluate etiology, whether that be basic etiology, molecular, or whether it be social, behavioral. Third is to develop novel biomarkers for early detection of frailty risk or create improved measures of frailty, which could be whole person phenotypic, it could be endophenotypic, addressing stress response physiology, or it could be biological or technological, any of those. Fourth is to really prevent adverse events. This is one of the things that older adults care about the most. We have a current pilot that's focused on preventing injuries among frail older adults. And then finally, to assure equal access to health benefits of frailty research for all older adults. Next slide. We welcome research along the entire spectrum. I'm not going to read this, you can see it, but it really is cells to society. That whole spectrum we're very interested in. Next slide. Okay, now we do have some expectations for those who join our community. And the first is that we are a community. And one of the, I think, most important things the Pepper Center has done over the years is to create this interdisciplinary community that really has become a force multiplier for increasing independence for older adults, both through work here at Hopkins and through broader work in the field. Second is that there are a series of meetings I'll briefly outline in a second. There's one that we really ask our awardees to participate in as part of that community element, and the others, we strongly encourage. Scientific sessions similarly. Fourth is presentations and particularly publications, that we definitely want the work that's done to be reported to the community, and then very importantly, to make sure that the work is leading on to a next step. Next slide. You can see an outline of the various scientific sessions that we hold here. Our retreats every other year, I think, are really wonderful events for deep thinking. The Pepper Scholars Program is the one that we really expect participation in on a monthly basis. That's where our whole pilot and REC scholar community presents their research in progress. And so it's just incredible to have such a multidisciplinary community there to discuss together and uplift the work. We also have a frailty working group that we encourage. Those are twice monthly and are not only a Hopkins entity. We have regular members from across the country, and it really provides an engine for research development, for program development, very, very active forum. Next slide. For those who are interested in the REC in particular, we'll also work with you on a potential program of study. to strengthen your capabilities, whether it be methodological, whether it be in biological grounding or clinical translation, or whether it be in aging subject area science. Next slide. And then finally, the process, absolutely choose the mechanism that is the most appropriate to your goals. And then the LOI itself is just 2 pages, including, of course, an overview and study aims. Very importantly, what is the significance to frailty research and, decreasing frailty in older adults? A summary of the research, the study design, the data analytic approach. Feasibility is an important component. We do evaluate the ability to complete the projects within the time frame as we're undertaking review. Fourth, sketch plans to access the resource cores. This also is important. We particularly prioritize projects for which engagement with our resource cores can help advance the research. And then fifth, very importantly, what's next? To make sure it's clear what is the pilot leading to in terms of either implementation or a future grant, and similarly for an REC projects. For an REC applicant, most beneficial to also name a mentor and give a brief overview of proposed career development activities, as well as a commitment to protected time from your department. Next slide. So you can see our timeline. March 6th, we've already said, is the LOI submission date, as well as a biosketch. We'll return decisions by March 23 and then those projects that are selected to progress to a full application will be provided at that time, detail for what happens next. There will be a month then to develop a full proposal. After that date, we'll undergo a review process, including both Hopkins and external reviewers, and are targeting selection and notification for awardees by June 19. The award period for the funded applications then is the coming academic year, July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. And we welcome applicants, from all backgrounds on all axes to apply. And so I think that's it for our presentation, except to just welcome contact. And so I'm sure, this session is being recorded. You'll have access to these slides. And so, all the mechanisms to reach out, please do, whether it be help developing your proposal, any further questions, we really welcome and encourage your outreach. So let's end the presentation part of the session and welcome questions. And so thank you, Junshin. I see that you've asked whether this funding opportunity is targeting just early stage researchers or researchers at any stage. We very much prioritize early stage researchers, but we also welcome senior researchers, particularly who are initiating a new interest in frailty. But on occasion, for very important projects, we have considered for pilots more senior faculty as well. So bottom line, REC, strictly early career faculty, pilot projects, mainly people who are new to the field. Other questions for any of us? All right. Well, I guess if there are no other questions, then we really thank you for your interest. I certainly thank my colleagues for partnering to provide this information. And we very much look forward to hearing your ideas and to your future outreach. We really hope to see applications from those of you who wish to submit them. Please have a wonderful rest of your day.